Hello, everybody, and welcome to this live video. And welcome to those who will be watching in the future. Please excuse the towel here. I'm still working on getting curtains. But I'm so happy that you're able to join me today for this health testimony that I'm going to be having. I figured, having bring promoting, health and everything, I should share my experience in because I also struggled with my health a few years ago. And so today I just have pretty much, I'm just going to share my symptoms, what I was going through. Um, just how much I was, I guess, struggling with my health. And then I'm going to go into what it was that helped me get better. And so I hope this is inspiring to you all, which is the main reason why I'm sharing. Uh, Especially for those who have been watching our YouTube videos, you might notice that I've mentioned an autoimmune recovery program a few times in a few of the videos. And that's kind of what I'm going to be going into if you've been interested in learning more about that. So I'm going to begin. I'm looking at my notes. If you see me looking down, I have my notes down here. I just don't want to forget anything. um I started with symptoms around the age of 17, pretty young. That was back in 2018. And I wouldn't really say I considered them symptoms at first, but I started feeling the need to take a nap every day. I think at first it was like every other day, and that slowly turned into like every day. But these naps were only like 10 minutes long, nothing that out of the ordinary. I mean, people take naps, right? But again, I was 17. This was back in 2018. And it was just kind of out of nowhere. I started kind of getting tired after lunch and just decided to take a nap. Once that began, it's kind of like after that, my health just started going downhill. Um, I I started feeling more fatigue during the day. So it wasn't just like, oh, I'm a little sleepy, I'm going to take a nap. And, when I would take a nap, I'd wake up feeling, refreshed, fine, being able to move on with my day. But yeah, as time progressed, I started feeling the need to take longer naps, which again, it was like pretty normal. I guess, I don't know, but at least in my experience, it started getting longer, and it slowly turned to 15-minute naps, 20-minute naps. Literally, it kind of started going up in 5-minute increments until I got to like 30 minutes. After 30 minutes, I just it kind of went even worse because I started taking 1 hour naps, then like 2 hour naps. But it wasn't just the fatigue. Okay, so I guess I should probably introduce myself a little bit for those who are watching this live stream and don't really know who I am or anything, before I go on. So, my name is Victoria Flores, and I am the director of our small family ministry, Some Flores Farm Ministries. And we do have a farm, a little farm, a little, either a big garden or a little farm. I don't know what you want to call it. Um, but back in, I believe it was around 2021, 2022, we started getting this, we were praying and trying to figure out what God's will was for us as a family. We felt the need to be a light, to be, in this community, and figure out a way to bring the gospel to other people, right? But my mom was really interested in health ever since she was younger. She loved everything health, reading health books, healthy recipes. She wanted to be a nutritionist. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to at that time. So she didn't become a nutritionist, but that didn't stop her. She still loved learning about health, and I didn't really care. I was like, whatever. She'd tell us about all these ingredients, and she was kind of alone in that health journey. But as I got older, I started seeing, how this could be important and how it could help other people. And she, we learned about medical missionary work, which is super important. And this video isn't, it's not going to focus on solely medical missionary work, but it's a very huge reason why we want to do health ministry, because by helping people with their health, by showing them that you care and you want them to live a good life, you will again, depends by person, but you can reach their heart easier and show them that there's someone else who cares and that that's Jesus. And that's kind of the message that we wanted to spread again as I got older. Um and back in it was about 2 years ago, I took a medical missionary course, and they teach you they teach you all about health, anatomy, all these different things, mental health. They equip you to help others, right? Naturally with their health. Um, and that got me excited. When I finished that course, I was like, wow, that's amazing. I was like inspired to do medical missionary work. And once I started that road, I just became more and more excited, I guess. And my mom, well, of course she was happy that I got into this. So that's kind of a little bit of background of our ministry. So now the goal of our ministry is to be able to have like a little, not lifestyle center maybe, but like a health retreat where we could have people come and we can, help them with natural remedies and all that. So yeah, that's kind of my background, in the background of our ministry. And so now let's go back to my health problems. So yeah, I began with fatigue, um but as time went on, I started getting more, I guess, other symptoms. So one very frequent one was headaches. So ever since I was little, I kind of struggled with headaches, but the thing is that it was like every single day. Like before I would get a headache every once in a while, but then it was every single day. And that of course like drains you and you're just like this. You can't think, and it just became a problem. And then after the headaches, I started getting dizzy spells. Like, yeah, it was kind of like I'd sit down, but I felt like the room was kind of like ooh around me. And I just it was bad. I mean, that alone was like really annoying to me. Again, I didn't necessarily see it as like, I didn't put like everything together. It was like, oh, I'm fatigued, right? I'm sleepy, taking naps. And then, oh man, I'm getting headaches, and then, oh, I'm feeling dizzy, but I kind of didn't put like everything together like on a symptom list. It was just stuff that was happening, and I kind of got used to it. Um, and then this went on even more. This is gonna sound crazy because I'm gonna add symptom on symptom, but this is just what happened, and I have met several people with similar issues. Um, so I know it's not just me. I Another issue I struggled with is that for a while I had done intermittent fasting, not to lose weight. It wasn't to lose weight. I think I was at an okay weight, but I was doing it for spiritual reasons, and as a result, I did start losing weight. It got to the point that I was like borderline underweight, and so I stopped the fasting. Um, and this was just 2 meals a week. So I think it was the Wednesdays I wouldn't eat. for breakfast or lunch, and then I would eat something small, usually at night because I it was just I was so hungry. So, I I started, I mean, I stopped doing that, and once I stopped doing that, it was so difficult for me to gain weight. Like, really difficult. I probably did gain a couple pounds, taking these vegan protein shakes. I think I literally just gained like 2 pounds. That's all I was able to gain. Um, and so by this time when I was having the headaches and all that stuff, I was underweight almost. It was like a little over underweight. I had the headaches, I had the dizziness, I had the fatigue. Uh, then I started noticing that I was dehydrated. Like, no matter how much water I drank, I was so thirsty all the time. Like, I could drink the water, and I was drinking water, my tongue would still feel dry. Like, I remember I was like, "This is ridiculous." And I was drinking and drinking, drinking water, going to the bathroom all the time because I was drinking so much water. And I was drinking little by little. Like, I wouldn't drink like a bottle at a time. I would take sips and then wait a bit and then take more sips. So, um, that's kind of how 2018, 2019 went. Again, symptoms just progressively getting worse. Uh, but then in like 2023, it was it was so much worse because I started getting pain in my lower back. I believe it was like my sciatica. I think it just hurt, and it hurt all the way down my right leg at first. It was my right leg, and it kind of felt like burning, like muscle ache. I had never really felt that before. But I know it was a nerve. Like, it was that nerve that went all the way behind my leg. And then that started happening on my left leg. So I kind of shifted from my right leg to my left leg. And that it was so much worse because I thought my leg sorry. I thought my right leg hurt, but my left one hurt even worse. And so I can't tell you if my right leg hurt or not because the left leg was, again, a lot more in pain. I remember that my mom used to have to massage me practically every night because it hurt so bad. Um, and from there, it extended up to my lower back, my arms, my neck. Like, pretty much everything hurt. It hurt a lot. Um, and so I did start getting a little worried, but again, you kinda get used to it. I mean, it was 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021. Like, it was years before I did anything about this. Um, well, anything major. And my mom kept telling me we should go to the doctor, you should get a shot, and I kept refusing just because I really didn't want to not to get a shot, sorry, to get my blood drawn. And I was just really nervous about that. I just didn't like the idea of them sticking a needle in me and taking my blood out. So I kind of postponed that for as long as possible. But like I said, 2023, it was really bad because at this point, because I had lost weight, I tried eating more. And at first, I could only eat small portions. Um, but then I started eating more and more to the point, and like over time, I couldn't stuff myself when I could only eat a little bit. So over time, I started eating more and more until I was eating more than my dad. I was eating a lot, like double, triple portions, and I still wasn't gaining weight. My it was just really, really weird because I'd eat a lot, and then, like, an hour or 2, I would feel hungry, which was ridiculous, and my mom would look at me like, "What?" But it wasn't just that. Like, by the end of the day, I'd feel hungry, but I also didn't want to eat anything. Like the thought of food would gross me out. So, I had this overeating issue, and it was just it was really weird. My body was really confused. I was overeating, then I would get hungry, and then I just felt disgusted at the thought of food by the end of the day. So I started doing smoothie bowls. I remember that. That's when I first found out about smoothie bowls, cuz I was like, "Man, what can I eat that isn't really heavy but will fill me for a while?" So every day or not every day, but often at the end of the day, I would be eating smoothie bowls, and I'd add chia seeds and flaxseed and nuts and raisins and just make it like kind of filling. And so I'm just looking at my notes really quick. Okay, so something else that started happening is so the first stage was like feeling very hungry, right? With everything that I just mentioned. And then as time went on, I started getting nauseous after every meal. So I couldn't eat as much anymore because, again, the thought of food was kind of grossing me out. So I wasn't eating as huge of portions, but after every meal, I would feel nauseous. Like, "Ooh, I can't keep this down." So that added on to that. Ugh. And I had like a love hate relationship with food because I love food. I love food a lot. And it's easy for me to overeat. Um, but I just couldn't stand the thought of eating during that time. It was like bleh. So by now, keep in mind, I'm struggling still with the fatigue, even worse. And I say even worse because before I would take a nap, wake up, and I'd feel fine. I wouldn't feel like the best, but I'd feel like with enough energy to get through the day. Uh, but by this time, by like 2022, 2023, I started feeling just exhaustion of I'd sleep for like 2 hours during the day, and then I'd wake up and I'd feel exactly the same, and that's what I that's something that I don't know how to explain to people. If you've never felt that way, it's kinda hard to understand, and the frustration that comes along with it because I would sleep at night, all night, I wouldn't wake up, I'd be fine, I'd get up in the morning feeling just as tired. And I'm not just talking about like, oh, like I'm so tired. I'm talking about like I I felt like a zombie. I was not functioning. I had no emotion. I was just kind of existing. It was really hard for me to get up in the morning, and so, sleeping 8 hours, 7 or 8 hours, waking up exactly the same, kind of living right in the morning, taking a nap after lunch for 2 hours, feel exactly the same, continue being exhausted the rest of the day, go to bed, and the cycle goes over. But again, it's not just the fatigue. I was having headaches and the dizziness. The dizziness also got worse because it went from just being dizzy like once or twice a month to like once a week to like I remember the most was like 4 consecutive days feeling dizzy. And this interfered with my life because it was so annoying. I remember one time we went on vacation for a few days, and the whole time, every single day of that vacation, I was dizzy. And it was winter. I remember I was desperate, like, what can I do for this dizziness? And there was a pool at the hotel we were staying at. I jumped into the pool. They had a door directly to outside, and there was snow outside. So I was like, I'm gonna do some hydrotherapy. And I was in the jacuzzi for 3 minutes. Then after the 3 minutes, I ran outside, got some snow for 30 seconds, putting it all over my body, and because I was so desperate, the dizziness was so bad that the snow was like nothing. It was like whatever, and I was just putting the snow on me, went back, and did that 3 or 5 times. I don't remember how many repetitions I did of that. Didn't really help. Didn't really help in that case for my dizziness. I didn't know how I expected that to help. But yeah, it didn't really help. So the dizziness had gotten worse. And with the water and stuff, that was pretty bad too because I just drinking water, still feeling thirsty. By now, I remember I was doing my medical missionary course and they were teaching me about anemia. Um, and I was like, hey, those symptoms look a lot like mine. So that kind of got me thinking and trying to see maybe I'm anemic. And so I'm gonna put that thought to a pause. My physical body aches were really bad, and it was stopping me from. So, for example, during the winter, we have to cut wood. We have to get wood. And so I remember helping out with the chainsaw, and my dad got me like this little chainsaw. It was so cute. I really love it. But man, my back would hurt. My back would hurt so bad. But again, it wasn't just like a regular backache. It was like burning and the nerves, the sciatic. I don't know. It was just pretty bad. Um, and then the food. I wasn't eating right every day. I couldn't figure out what to do. And so I believe it was around in 2022 I tried to stop sugar. And keep in mind we have been vegetarian for like 11 years and we've tried to eat healthy, right? We thought we were eating healthy, so I couldn't imagine why I was having these issues. I'd exercise, we spent time outside. What was the problem? I was drinking water, pretty much keeping the 8 laws of health. Um, but yeah, to no avail, right? It was really frustrating. So in 2022, I tried this like no sugar fast, and I was still taking natural sweeteners because I didn't think I had like diabetes or anything like that. I just figured maybe cutting out something refined would be good for me. So I'd still have fruit. I would have natural sweeteners, organic, like agave syrup and maple syrup and honey, and not in huge quantities, but I would use that instead. It is better than having like the white refined sugar from the store. I did that for like 5 months and I felt little to no improvement. Then in 2023, I remember I decided to do a what's called gluten, like no gluten, thing. I only was able to do that for like a month. I could not. I was going hungry. I couldn't figure out what to eat. Like I didn't do a really good job. And I'm all for, if you don't want to have gluten and stuff. But I just didn't do it right. It wasn't really helping my health. I had never, we were learning about healthy eating and teaching people about healthy eating, but that was like another step that I had never gone into before. So I didn't know how to do gluten-free eating. Uh, and so anyway, by I believe it was like March 2023, I finally decided that I was going to go to the doctor to get my blood drawn. Well, I went to the doctor and I explained everything, and she was like super nice. She listened. A lot of doctors don't really listen to what you're saying, but she listened. She did hear my symptoms, and she knew we were vegetarian, so she had my iron checked out, my B12 checked out, a lot of things. She checked for a lot of things. Um, when I actually have the numbers. I forgot to bring those out, but let me bring that up because I want to share with you all how amazing this actually was. I wanted to show you guys this product that I used that really did help. I'll have to get up and get it because I left it on my shelf over there. Um, sorry, I completely. Okay, here we go. So it did help. It did show that those results when they came in did show that I was like borderline anemic. So my suspicion was right. I did talk to a doctor that goes to our church, and he said that sometimes for some of the numbers on the tests that they do, when they draw your blood, that's like the average. It doesn't necessarily mean it's the best. So I could have been anemic. On their scale, I was like borderline, but I could have very well been anemic. Those numbers were pretty low. Um, and throughout 2023, we still couldn't figure out exactly what was wrong with me, and my symptoms just got even worse. Like, if you thought that was bad, it got worse. Keep in mind, I was 17, 18, 19. This is a teenager struggling with these health issues that should not be happening, right? So I took in the first labs, the worst out of everything was my iron saturation. So my iron came out like pretty low, but it was like still within the range. But my iron saturation came out to a 12%. The reference range is 20 to 55. So that's pretty bad. That's really bad. My body had iron, but it was not absorbing it pretty much. And that could be for many reasons. But my mom had heard of something called digestive tea or bitter tea. And let me get up really quick to show you all that because I want you guys to see what it looks like. Okay, so this is the digestive tea. And we bought it from Eden Valley Health Institute in Colorado. It comes in a bag, but we put it in a jar. I don't know if you can kind of see that. I don't know if it's mirrored, but you might also hear it as bitter tea. And I had a friend who, when I told her I was using this, because she thought she might be anemic too. That's a very common issue for girls, especially in their teen years, when they're first starting their period, their menstrual cycle, just because you are losing a lot of blood every month, right? And so what's in this digestive tea is licorice, golden seal, dandelion, gentian. I think that's how you pronounce that. And it's a uh, root tea, pretty much. So it's made out of roots. My friend, who was, thinking she might be anemic too, was like, "Oh, well, I've bought a digestive tea at Walmart. It doesn't taste that bad." Because I told her that this one, it's bitter. It is bitter indeed. That's why it's called bitter tea or digestive tea. I told her that what you're buying from the store is not gonna do the same thing as this. Like, this is the actual root. The roots. You can see there. So there's like chunks of like bark and stuff like that. So the way you make this is that you get 1 teaspoon of the digestive tea, and you put it into a cup of water, and you boil it for, well, actually, no, sorry, there's the digestive tea and then there's a colon cleanse tea. I don't have the colon cleanse tea here with me, but for the digestive tea, it's 1 teaspoon and 1/3 of a cup, so it's a little bit of water, and you boil that for like 10 minutes, and you're gonna leave that on the stove. Just leave it there, for 10 minutes. Once it's done, you take out this, with like a, what's it called? The I can't think of the word, but to take this out, the thing with the, oh, colander. Um, you're gonna separate it, and then right before your meal, like 10-15 minutes before your meal, you drink this. It can be with your meal too, but ideally it's like, before your meal. And what this does is that it starts stimulating your hydrochloric acid. The problem with a lot of people is that we're not absorbing like things like iron or B12 correctly, because our hydrochloric acid isn't functioning as it should for any reason. Could be for several reasons. But this will help with the absorption of these things. It will help with the digestive process. And I did it. I did this. I took iron supplements, which ideally you shouldn't have to take supplements if your food is enough. Again, my iron was okay, but I figured might as well. So I started taking iron supplements and with the digestive tea. And at night I would do a colon cleanse tea, which it's also made out of roots and stuff. And that one you take it at night and you take a cup of it and like on an empty stomach. So I was doing this, and that was in March. Then in like September, I got my blood drawn again, and my percentage was up to 36. 36, like from 12, which is supposed to be 20 to 55, from 12 to 36. So, and I didn't really make any other changes. Like, this was the main thing, the digestive tea. So, I really, really recommend it to people who struggle with their iron or B12. My B12 came out fine. It did come out fine. So that was good. But it was the iron that was the issue. So during the year of 2023, I was still struggling though. My iron was better. I fixed that. I thought my symptoms would start going away, and they didn't. They didn't really. I still had like headaches and dizziness. I feel like what it did help was the dehydration. Like, I was able to drink water and it would satisfy me. But I still had other symptoms, my pain. What also something that I struggled with, and because this is talking about health, I'm just going to be transparent here. Something that a lot of girls struggle with is very painful menstrual cramps. Ever since I was like 12, some girls just struggle with it more than others. That's just the way it is. But in my case, it was really, really bad. I remember I'd have to wake up in the middle of the night and I was just like crying. And something that happens to me is that I get nausea and my stomach will feel uneasy. I wouldn't throw up or anything. I just couldn't like keep it. I'd feel like I couldn't keep anything down. Had no appetite, at least for the first day or two. And it was so, so bad. I was like an invalid for like a day or two. And this got a little better as I got older, but I also had very heavy flow and kind of irregular. And I also showed this to the doctor, which is why she assumed maybe it would be like that I would be anemic or something. Which again, she was right, but it didn't really help in much getting my iron up, besides maybe the dehydration. Not to say that it didn't improve other functions in my body, it probably did, but like the symptoms were still there. And so, um, when I started feeling, I think, a little better, because of the iron, I guess I wasn't getting as frequent headaches. Okay, I was still getting headaches, I was still getting dizziness, it just wasn't as frequent. Sorry, this was a couple years ago, so I'm trying not to lie. I'm trying to tell you guys in chronological order. When I did start feeling better, I decided to get my blood checked again, and that's when it went up to 36%. Um, then after that, I believe we asked the doctor if she could check my back. Um, And she did check my back, and she not just my back, like, she actually, like, checked everything down there. She made me pull my pants down and, like, which was a little embarrassing, but, I mean, I was like, "Okay, well, whatever, it has to be done." She checked, like, my alignment and everything, and she said I looked okay, maybe a little tight, but, like, on one of my hips. So she sent me for X-rays. And after that, again, I don't want to lie. I don't remember if this was in March or in September. I just know that in one of those appointments, she checked me and I got my x rays done, and the x rays came back fine. So I was really confused. I was like, where is this pain coming from? Am I making it up? Is it all in my head? I was so confused. So I remember just feeling really done. I was like, I'm done. I don't know what to do. I am hurting. I Especially at my age, I remember there was a hiking trip that we were doing with some friends, and I was lagging way behind. I couldn't breathe. I was like, like if it was some difficult hike, it was not. I've done hiking before. It was, I don't know, it was just really sad for me. I remember feeling really discouraged, and I just didn't really know what to do anymore. When I was Actually, I'm gonna stop there. Going back to this menstrual cycles, what started happening is that once a month I would feel like nauseous and like not on my period, like just on some day I would feel nauseous and then I'd actually throw up. Like I did start throwing up my food. It was not nice. And this is going to be a little TMI, but I could tell that I was not digesting my food because, and this was before the digestive tea. I could tell I was not digesting my food because I could see food from like 3 days prior in my, throw up. And that was really concerning. And this did help with my digestion a lot, but that's something that started happening. And I was like, why am I throwing up once a week? I mean, once a week, once a month. My mom noticed that it was around my, like, right before my period. So I think it was something hormonal, although my food was also not digesting correctly. And speaking of hormonal, I also had really bad mood swings. I've struggled with anxiety ever since I was little. Not severe, just kind of like anxious thoughts here and there, but as I got older, it got progressively worse along with other things like being paranoid of things going wrong, and just it got really bad. My mood swings, I would feel depressed, then I'd feel great, I'd go up and down and all over the place. It was exhausting. It was exhausting to just live, to exist. So I remember just feeling like I was going to give up. And towards the end of 2023, I remember my mom mentioning Med Missionary a lot. She's like, "Oh, I saw this video on Med Missionary. It was really informative. They talked about this and that." And she just like watched their videos a lot. She'd get really excited, I remember. And they have a course. If you go to medmissionary.com, you'll see they have a course that it's 6 to 8 weeks long, and they meet through Zoom once a week, which was really convenient for my mom because she's really busy all the time. But she was debating if to do the course or not, and I told her, "Mom, if we're gonna have a health ministry, you should do it." And it's kind of ironic because we wanted to have a health ministry, and I'm dying over here and don't know what to do. But that was like the best decision ever, because after she finished that course, she was equipped. They they have what's called an autoimmune recovery program. So besides my iron everything else came out fine. It was perfectly fine. I was like a healthy person overall. Again, my x-rays came out fine. Um so it was, like I said, it was really confusing for me. Um but we did, you know, think maybe as my mom started learning, we were like, maybe it's an autoimmune issue, thyroid. So I did get checked for that. Now I'm remembering the second time I did get checked for that. I didn't show any of the markers, the inflammatory markers that they checked for. There's a lot of tests they can do, but the ones for they checked, I was okay. So my mom finished that course and she was like, well, we're gonna do this protocol, and this whole program, I guess, involves a meal plan and the protocol. We kind of just call the whole thing a protocol, but it involves the meal plan and the protocol. And my mom kept threatening us about doing this protocol, and I was all for it. I was like, if it's gonna help me feel better, I want to do it. The rest of my family, though, was kind of iffy about it because even though we were vegetarian, we still eat, being Hispanic and all, we eat spicy food, really spicy food. We eat salsa every day, like every meal. We still would eat nightshades like potatoes, eggplant, spicy food. We would still eat gluten, flour. I love baking, so I'd bake a lot. Sugar, and we would eat not a ton, but we did have some of the processed vegetarian stuff, which we knew wasn't the healthiest, but we were like, oh, every once in a while, like it's okay. So we still did things that may not be considered unhealthy, but could definitely affect a person that's suffering from an autoimmune disease. So even though I never got diagnosed for an autoimmune disease, we figured we could put this into practice. And let me tell you that it changed my life. Like it literally changed my life. And that's why I recommend this program so much to people, because so what this program involves, and I'm going to get more into the details of what it is that helped me feel better. What this program is that they cut out as much of the inflammation that we could get from our food, no matter what you have. Maybe some of the things on the list don't affect you, but you figure that out later on. So you start off by you cut out everything pretty much when you start this diet. If you're gonna go for it, it cuts out gluten, it cuts out nightshades, it cuts out even nuts because those could be hard to digest. You soak and sprout the pseudo grains, which are like buckwheat. It does not have actual wheat in it, so it's gluten free. But you soak like the buckwheat, the sunflower seeds. That's where you get your fats, your good fats from. You don't do free oils, so no frying, not even for sauteing, no free oils. You get again your good fats from avocados, sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds. You have flaxseed and chia seeds as well. It's a really well made program, and I love it because they make it so easy for you. It comes with a shopping list, so you don't have to worry about what do I need for these recipes. It even tells you the amounts. It comes with a schedule, so you can kind of figure out how to space out, because that's the meal plan, but it also includes the protocol, which is turmeric, it's aloe vera, it's ginger, it's like charcoal. So it's all these things that you do on the side. So for example, turmeric, you drink turmeric and a little bit of water in the mornings. There's an onion broth, which that thing is a life changer. Let me tell you, if you can't get or do a program like this, if you can't afford to buy everything, because it can be pretty expensive as like opposed to just like a regular diet. Um, Make the onion broth and do the lemon water because those two things, especially the onion broth, is like amazing for your energy, for the inflammation. I started giving health coaching to a woman, and she had many health problems. She had been trying to get off medications for years. I think she was like at 20 medications at this point. And so I told her, what she could do. And even though she was not following the program to the T, she was doing the onion broth. And she's doing it 3 times a day. She just sent me a text recently. She was like, "I'm doing, so good." And she sent me before and after photos, and she told me what she's doing, and the onion broth, I think, is, like, the main thing, and walking. Those 2 things are changing her, glucose levels, her like, pretty much all her levels have gone down, which is amazing. Um, so yeah, in this protocol, they or this, we just call it protocol. I'm just gonna say in this protocol, in this program, what you I also love because they have like charts showing how many calories you're getting, how much of each thing you're getting, which is great because when I went gluten free, like I said, I was going hungry. I didn't know what to eat. Here, again, it's all made for you. There's the recipes, there's a schedule, there's a shopping list. Like they try to make it as easy as possible so you can do this. It's recommended that you do it anywhere from 1 to 4 months, just depending on, your problem. So if it's cancer, you can expect to do anywhere from 4 to more months. If it's something like me, for example, we did it for 2 months strict, like, to the T. Well, maybe not to the T, like, there's recipes for 4 days that you're supposed to kind of repeat. For us, with the ingredients on the shopping list, we use those to kind of make our own recipes, but get the same benefits. And we also included cashew nuts. They don't include it on the list, and they don't include it in the what's it called, in like their own recipes, but we did, just because again it can be hard to digest, but so it's not great for everybody, but we decided that we would just do that to make like cashew cheese and stuff like that. So day 1, I was still struggling with feeling like full and nauseous after meals. So breakfast, I thought all the food was delicious, by the way. It was really good. After breakfast, which we had buckwheat waffles, we had black beans, and we had quinoa tortillas, and with chives and avocado, and it was really good. It was like really filling, really good meal. Like I'm, I can savor it right now. Um, so anyway, after breakfast, I do remember feeling like nauseous, like oh, like I don't know if I ate too much or what, but by like a few days later, wasn't nauseous anymore. And it's kind of funny because you're so used to living with this pain and with like these problems that they kind of become just normal. But it's kind of strange because I didn't notice how this, like when the symptoms would go until something would like bring it to mind. So for example, this was in February. We still needed wood. February is when my mom finished her protocol. I mean her protocol. Sorry. When my mom finished her course and we started the protocol. And so it's still cold out here where we live. So we were chopping wood, and I was using my little chainsaw, and I was bending over, and my mom said, "How's your back?" She came to me and was like, "How's your back doing?" And I was like, "Wait, my back doesn't hurt." It doesn't hurt. This is amazing. And it wasn't like, it was pain-free but not pressure-free. I don't know how to explain it, but like I still felt like this pressure, like this tightness, this sensation, but the pain wasn't there. Like that pain of like that burning feeling and stuff. it wasn't there. And I was stretching like every night, and my mom would massage me like I said earlier. Um but but yeah, like after this I was like, "Oh wow, that's really interesting. My back doesn't hurt." And so I did continue stretching, during that time. I did continue doing like exercise. Um and I remember by like the second week I noticed my headaches and my dizziness was gone. And to me, my stomach, like, okay, the legs hurt, right? Especially my left leg, it hurt so bad. Like, I could hardly be standing up or go shopping just because my leg would hurt. But the nausea and the headaches were the worst thing because you can't think correctly. And as a result, I don't know from the fatigue or from what, but I started getting really bad brain fog. I mean, it's the food too. I started getting really bad brain fog, and I remember I was at my worst when I was in a conversation with someone, with a friend, and I was talking. Normally, when you talk, you might forget what you were gonna say, and then you'll remember later on. Well, I couldn't remember, stuff I was gonna say, but this time I was like halfway through a sentence, and then my mind went blank, like blank, blank, blank. Not even like, oh, like no, like nothing. Like my neurons disconnected. It was so bad. I had to make something up on the spot, and I kind of ended the conversation soon after because I could not think. I couldn't say what I wanted to say. It was really bad. So I did I did suffer with brain fog. And so I think, the headaches and the dizziness and all that was like connected, right? So after that, that after like the 2 weeks that my brain fog and no, sorry, not the brain fog, the headaches and the dizziness started going away. I was like, amazed. I was like, wow, that's amazing. And then my stomach aches went away. That nausea after every meal went away. And I wish I would have kept a journal with exactly when my symptoms started getting better. And I don't have that. But all I know is that by the end of the 2 months, I was a new person. I was full of energy. I remember one time I was staying up till, which I don't recommend that, but for some reason I was up around like 11 and I did not feel tired at all. I felt so full of energy. So I remember my mom telling me, "You have to go to bed now. You should go to bed now." And I was like, "Yeah, yeah." And so I finished what I was doing and headed to bed, and I slept so good. Like I was sleeping great every night. I cut down on the naps. The headaches were gone, the pain was gone, and it was just amazing. I was like, wow, I'm finally feeling my age again. I'm finally feeling young again. It was so exciting. And for me personally, when I was little, excuse me, when I was little, like out of fresh from the womb, my parents noticed that I had constipation issues. So, the doctor said, oh, like she'll be able to handle it as she gets older or whatever. Well, I that was an issue. I believe I do struggle with the digestion, and I believe it runs in the family. So it's not just me. I know my dad, I know a couple of my aunts struggle with it. So it's genetic. Whatever it is that I have is genetic, and whatever issue it is that I had of with all these symptoms and stuff, I don't know. I'm sure it was an autoimmune thing, but I don't, again, I couldn't get diagnosed for it. And a lot of people go undiagnosed for years because the doctors can't figure out exactly what it is, or they're misdiagnosed people. They'll try to, fix that problem, realize that they couldn't, and then, oh, you actually have this other like they'll keep diagnosing them with different things. I have ever since then, I have met many people have struggled, many young people too. Like You think people don't struggle with their health? Like everyone looks fine on the outside. And I started talking to people. I was like, wow, everyone is so messed up in one way or another. And they think it's normal. And I'm like, no, you shouldn't be living this way. There's a better way. So, um, I, after that, I was just so amazed. I was so impressed. And what I love about this is that this program was created by um professionals. So it wasn't just made by some random person, you know. It's a doctor, a nurse, and then I believe a dietitian helped them with their cookbook. So it's not just random people doing this. And the even better part is that these two women that started this actually had autoimmune issues themselves and were able to figure a way out with the diet. And so it's really inspiring just to see how well it works. And it's not to say that each one of the, that this diet or this change of lifestyle is going to help everyone. Even within this lifestyle, people might not be able to tolerate, or sorry, this diet, people might not be able to tolerate certain things like the buckwheat. Some people can't tolerate the buckwheat, so they have to figure out some other way to get it, the properties that buckwheat has. So like amaranth maybe, or quinoa or stuff like that. um and so it's not like foolproof, but it's amazing because it gets you a huge head start. And then what you do after this program, so depending on how long you did it for, you slowly start introducing things. So, for example, I'm going to start introducing potatoes. And you wait 4 days and see if you got any reaction to it, because that's around how long it takes to get a reaction. So you wait 4 days. After the 4 days, you introduce something else if you didn't get a reaction. If you did get a reaction, now you know that thing gives you, whatever reaction is that you got. We got bloated. We got severely bloated after eating potatoes. And my sister got stomach ache. So we were all struggling with something in my family. Not all as severe as me, but my sister did have stomach issues. She just tends to have stomach issues. We also had a hard time figuring out what she had. Even the doctor couldn't figure out. Maybe it's also autoimmune thing. But we all had something. And if you think you're perfectly healthy, I mean, it's great if you are, but even healthy people that we have met, like you think they're healthy, struggle with headaches and migraines. I think is the most common thing that I've encountered. Um, but there's other things like arthritis and hypertension and diabetes and cancer. This program has helped so many people, and there's so many testimonies. If you find them on YouTube, Med Missionary, you can hear their testimonies and get more info on that. um, but something else I want to point out is that this didn't only affect me like mentally, wasn't only exhausting to me and physically and everything, but it was affecting my spiritual life as well. So, first thing in the morning, I have my devotionals, but the problem is that when I was feeling sick, I could not get up in the morning and I couldn't retain anything. Like I tried reading the Bible, I tried reading, these books, and nothing would stick. And sometimes I couldn't even wake up early enough. So I'd have a 10-15 minute devotion and run off and, do what I had to do. So it just wasn't, it was affecting my spiritual life when I prayed. Like I couldn't really pray. My mind wasn't there. It was really bad. Once I was healthy, it was amazing because I was able to wake up and, have a longer devotional. I could have these better prayers and everything, right? Um and this is why it's important, your health is great. Keeping, a good health is great for your body, your mind, but also for your spiritual um life. And speaking of mind, like I said, I struggled with, very anxious thoughts and a lot of just it was a lot of mood swings, like I said, depression on and off, and it was just pretty bad. Everything that I had was just magnified during that time. After this program, my mental health was also amazing. I was not anxious for things. Like, if I got a little nervous about something, I was able to reason myself through it. And it's because you have a clear mind, you have more focus. It's a lot easier to have self control. It was just really great. And so I want to throw this out there because I know there's a lot of people who might be struggling with their health, and maybe, I've given my testimony before. You might find my testimony on Mid Missionary. Uh, I gave it at their conference last year also. And so several people have come up to me and say, like, wow, I have a lot of the symptoms that you do. So it really kind of motivates them to do this. And during the program, I did not have to do the digestive tea. I didn't have to do the colon cleanse. I was these are great remedies, but do just like a lot of people who do natural remedies say that, oh, taking ibuprofen is just like putting a band-aid, but you're not actually fixing the problem. I feel like we can also do that with natural remedies. Instead of changing our lifestyle, we drink certain teas or things to try to better our symptoms, and sometimes they do help. I'm not saying they don't help, but this isn't going to fix your life forever. This helps temporarily, but your diet ultimately is what's going to change how you feel. So I highly, highly recommend Med Missionaries program. If you're interested in taking their course, you can go to medmissionary.com. They're also having their second annual conference this year in November, I believe, which is coming up pretty soon. Time has been flying by, but they will be having they have many professionals, many doctors go and talk about this. It's a lot of doctors who are on board, and I love this program because they not only use science, but they also use the Bible and what's best for our bodies. So if you're interested in attending that conference, let me share really quick. This is where you can go to medmissionary.camp, and you will be able to find the information there on the dates and registration and all that. Again, I highly, highly recommend. It's going to be in Sacramento in California. So if you're in the area and you're able to go, I highly recommend it. Now, I that was my testimony, kind of. I know it's a little all over the place. That's the first time that I tried sharing it in more detail. Oh, and before I forget, right now that I just looked at my notes, um, I mentioned that my menstrual cramps were really bad. Well, after this program, I didn't even notice when I would start my period. I was like just minding my own business, and the next thing you know, I started my period. Like, they were the most pain-free periods I ever had. And usually the first day I would get a little bit of cramps, but it was and to this day it's remained. I'm not even on the like to following the program like to the T anymore, but like a lot of these things remained. Like, it gave my body that reset that I needed, and this was like a year and a half ago that we did this program. So the things where I got better in definitely have lingered. I was at my best during this program. Unfortunately, like I mentioned, it can be a bit expensive, so you might not be able to do the program to the T for your whole life, for the rest of your life. But you do what you can. And so I definitely fell at my 100% during the program, and now I still feel great. I still like, oh man, I can't believe I feel bad for my past self because I'm like, man, I'm sorry you had to endure all that, but it's great that I was able to get better and heal. The point is to heal your gut. You might hear the term leaky gut, which can it's kind of a broad term, but it's essentially saying there's something wrong in your intestines that you need to fix in your microbiome, and this is what this does. So it's amazing. I highly recommend it. And so before I end this live stream, I just want to share our upcoming podcast starting next Tuesday. I can't believe it. This has been in the works for a few months. I don't remember exactly when we started planning this out, but I'm really excited for it. Here you can kind of see the flyer that we have for it. We're supposed to be having Christopher Hudson, if all goes as planned, Scott Ritzma, Bradley from Strange Normal. I love his podcast. He's actually going to be coming on all of October, so that'll be exciting. But yeah, I invite you to watch this podcast. It's going to be streamed both on our Facebook and on our YouTube channel. So make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel or following our account on Facebook, Some Flores Farm Ministries, if you want to be notified of when we go live. They're going to be really good topics. The title of our podcast is I Am Ready, because it's covering, that we're living in the last days. We're living in we know Jesus is coming really soon, and we're going to be going over how you can prepare yourself mentally, physically, and spiritually more than anything. And so if you're interested in seeing more information, you can head on over to our website, to the link that I have put here on the screen, and you can see speaker information, exactly when they're going to be presenting, and all that good stuff. So I really appreciate you being here. I hope this was of some inspiration, of some help, and I hope to see you next Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific time. Have a good one, everyone. Bye-bye.